Hey there, great people. It's me, Bernice Loman Creative Services. I am talking tonight, whichever time you're watching. I do see a few people that do catch the replay. So that's why I say daytime. And then I have some great people in Africa that usually join me. I appreciate the love and support. And so daytime, night, whichever time you're watching. All right. Again, I'm Bernice Loman with Loman Creative Services. And today, I'll be sharing the platform with Gbenga again. You guys notice this is our second interview together. So we've been just talking about the branding and from an aspect of knowing the story. And knowing your story, you know, what it is. I'm excited to have Gbenga join us because he just published his new book as it relates to story. So super excited about that. So he'll be on in a few minutes. So get ready. So you have time now to share this. We'll be talking about identity, where we're talking about strategy. Hi to Quisha. How are you doing? Thanks for saying hello, and thank you so much for sharing. So again, like I was saying, this is the second time Gbenga has been with me with the Loman Creative Services show. I'm usually on every Thursday, 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. So you can find me here at 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. All right, Gbenga is going to be on shortly in video. And we're going to just dive right on in and get started. Got a couple of questions for him as it relates to his book, and super excited about that. Now, I want to pause for those who are watching now or catching a replay. Do you have any questions for him as it relates to story, strategy, identity, knowing your story? What comes to mind right now? Like, what comes to mind when you think of that? So, I see a few of you coming on. Thank you so much for coming on. But we're about to talk about, the identity, knowing strategy, how important it is. He wrote the book, so I'm sure he has some great information, tons of information to share, and great reasoning why he chose to talk about that, to share about it. Hey guys, thank you so much for coming on. There he is. So he's on in there. Hello, Gbenga. How you doing?
Oh, great.
Hello. You are live.
Oh, great. Oh, finally.
It's okay. Everyone is saying hello. We have Russia Martin. We have to Quisha. Cleaver says hello. We have Doug and Keisha saying hello to you. Say hello. You with us, Mr. Gbenga?
Yes. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yes. You are on. I was saying you have a couple people on saying hello now to you.
Hello everyone. I'm so Keisha, excited to be here. Russia, we are on to an interesting start, so we trust it's going to get better. So thanks for having me, Bernice.
You are so very welcome. I was sharing that I was asking a couple other before you got on, as we talk about knowing your story and identity and the branding, knowing who you are and all of that. I was asking a few others, what came to mind when they thought of I'm back on. This is the second time that we did a live, but for those who don't know, who are you?
Hi, everyone. My name is Gbenga Ogunjimi, and Gbenga, I would say first, is a Nigerian name that means to elevate, and is the source of the work that I do, helping people tell their story and also define their identity. So I'm a life coach, and in the work of my life coaching, I work with clients who have this drive to tell a story and find the right vocabulary to articulate what their story is. In the process, monetizing that story and talent so they can expand the contribution they make in the world. So that is what I do.
That's awesome. That is totally awesome. In other words, he does the world. That's amazing. It's amazing. So tell us, I already told them before you got on, you got a book. So they already know. So please tell us about your new book and the story behind it. Like, what's the purpose? What happened? What took place that you decided, oh man, this is a book here that I gotta publish?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. So the book I just released, I call my breakout book, is Borderless Voice, The Power of Telling Your Story and Defining Your Identity. Happened as a result of my life coaching with clients of all categories. And what I began to find was this recurring theme around them giving themselves permission in two major areas to tell their story as well as to define their identity. And when that happened, what they once considered as a boundary, as a barrier, no longer existed, and they were able to show up in such a powerful way and make contributions they can only imagine or dream of creating. So that is the source or the inspiration for writing this book, Borderless Voice. I'm so excited with the feedback so far.
That's awesome. Now, the book's title is such a catchy one. So how did you come up with the book title?
So in 2001, there's an amazing woman in Nigeria by the name of Abani Derego. She was the first Miss World that happened to be a Black woman that was dark-skinned and with melanin, and she redefined the definition of beauty around the world, or particularly for Black people. According to the world of fashion and the beauty industry, our color is not the most celebrated, and she changed that narrative. So it was several years ago, and I remember watching that competition. It happened in South Africa. And I had this visceral reaction that if this 19-year-old woman can move the world so profoundly, anyone should be able to do that. So at that moment, she went borderless. Another coinciding story was now very famous and well-known Nigerian author by the name of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She had given this TED Talk in the United Kingdom called The Danger of a Single Story. And our premise is that our stories are glory, and everyone has a story to tell. And the world cannot be what is meant to be without the combination of all our stories. So I had inspiration from Black women leading the world so profoundly. And I said, if these two women can go borderless and make such a remarkable impact in the world, I should be able to do so. So the book talks about my journey of finding my own borderless voice and transitioning into life coaching and helping people do that as well.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Now, there are several thought-stimulating insights of the book, one of which is your story is not your past to date. Can you expound on that?
Absolutely, Bernice. So in my experience, when going through this journey of helping people tell their story, oftentimes when we hear storytelling, we often snap back to, we think about our history, our biography, our birth date, our growing up, our childhood. Pretty much we think about our story till date. But the approach of storytelling that I lead in my service is this idea that your story should be future oriented, should be forward looking. It should be a conduit to your highest aspiration. Your real story is the one that takes you forward and further, that elevates, that uplifts. Oftentimes, when people tell their stories, sometimes people unconsciously settled into the dark challenges, episodes of their narrative. So this whole idea of don't leave your audience in the dark, bring them to the light. And the way you can do that is to have a crystal clarity of what that destination is. And then you tell their story going towards that destination. So it's all about reverse engineering, having a clarity to what your highest aspiration and dreams and passion. Once you do that, you change your story, you change your identity. In my own experience with coaching, this is what I found out. Oftentimes, people have aspirations that have lingered years after years after years. I'm going to start my business. I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to write my book. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go overseas. And those things always become aspirational, but never manifested. Storytelling helps manifest those aspirations. It literally takes you and drags you into your future and propels you forward. That is what true storytelling is all about.
Awesome. What are some common challenges? Now, you always have to include challenges, anything, because I personally feel like if you don't, when things do come in with challenges, you're kind of like thrown off guard. So, I got to ask you, it sounds good, so what are you laughing, but really, it sounds good, but what are some common challenges? Let's talk about it. What are some common challenges that you have seen?
Well, and sorry if I'm interjecting from speaking over you, there was a temporary mute. So I guess what you were saying is what were the common challenges people face in telling their story? Most of the time, the very first common recurring theme is the average person says, my story? I'm not a celebrity. I'm not a superstar. I don't have a platform. I'm not in television. My life is not that exciting. And I don't think anyone want to listen to my story. That is the first thing that that people struggle with. By the way, are we on the same page so far, Bernice?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that is a very front of the challenges, this idea that our story is not audience worthy. And then we discount ourselves, but we don't realize that our story is like our fingerprint, like our DNA. No one has our story in the world. The events of our lives are uniquely ours. And our story is our greatest asset if we can only embrace that. So think about this, Bernice. If you show up for an interview, I guess when we start in this particular online TV or online show program, you had competition, whether it's for pitching for a funding, for a job, for an opportunities. There will always be people who are more educated. There will always be people who are more connected, who have more resources, who are more technological savvy, who are more culturally fluent and competent, who can speak more, who are more beautiful, who are this. However, one thing they do not have, a unique value distinction and value proposition, is the story that we have. But oftentimes people are quick to discount that, and they focus so much on what can I do, what is my skill set. But your stories are uniquely yours, and that is what singles you out and sets you apart. Once you embrace that, you have an entire new identity. So this idea that is not audience worthy and try to challenge that mindset. The second thing that I found with challenges is this: when it comes to storytelling, it's people struggle to embrace and give themselves credit and value and permission to be their truest self. Sometimes it's cultural. We think that, we really have to dim our light for someone around us to be comfortable. Because of that, we don't show up in a profound, powerful way. This is not about impressing anyone. It's you speaking from the spirit and being integral and coming from the core. If you come from the spirit, you move people's spirit. If you come from the mind, you can only touch people at the mental level. But if you want to have a powerful, influential effect on the audience that you serve, you got to stay in integrity. And that is what storytelling is all about. So give yourself permission and tell yourself my story is worthy to be told.
Love it. I'm reading some of these comments. Janae says, give yourself permission to be you.
Awesome.
Coach Tilda. This is so true. Nobody else can tell your story but you. And yes, Janae. Janae says, uniquely ours. Yes.
Great.
Hello,
great.
Felicia. Hello, April. But definitely, so say they get it, man, say, I get it now. I want to share. I'm excited. I want to share my story. How do I get to the point of sharing my story to an international audience? Because I know you have an international audience. How does one get to that place?
So what I heard before the interruption was, I get it now. I want to share my story. How do I tell this borderless story in a nutshell? Whether it is international or cultural or professional, how can I tell a story that is borderless, that transcends boundaries? Would that be great, Bernice?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, I'm guessing you said yes now, so I'm just going to try. Okay, great. I heard that. Yeah. Great. I was about to say, I'm just going to trust that everything I said was what the question was. Great. So when it comes to telling a story that transcends borders and that is borderless, again, whether those boundaries be cultural, whether they be professional, whether they be intellectual, or even tech, whatever those challenges or perceived boundaries are, the very first thing you want to do is you have to take inventory of the defining moments of your story. Again, you have to take inventory of the defining moment of your story. This defining moments show up in our lives as peak moments, as success, sadly, sometimes as tragedy. These are events that are life-altering, and you didn't have control over those incidents. Again, I've seen these events be positive, whether they be love, whether it be your dream job, finding your purpose, getting your breakthrough, or whether they be loss of someone, whether they be relationship that was discontinued. Whatever those episodes, they have profound effect on you. And they continue to manifest to this very present moment. You would have to go back to that defining moment. And that is your strongest value. I understand as a life coach, it's a very vulnerable channel and route for some of us to go back into. You would have to go back into those defining moments. Now, what do you do with those defining moments? You would take that defining moment and you will try to parallel it with what is your aspiration and dreams at this particular time. And I'm going to give you several examples. When we think about women, an organization that is doing amazingly well for women, it's Susan G. Komen for the Cure. Susan G. Komen for the Cure, it's about $2-3 billion organization. Mm-hmm. Now, that organization was founded upon a crisis moment. Nancy Jean Brinker lost her sister, and the sister promised that she would do everything within her power to end breast cancer. Again, all she had was $200. I remember sharing this story in Atlanta, and someone said, all I need is $1 in a crisis. There was a crisis moment, but what has happened has happened. Again, whether they be positive or negative, we don't have control over that. But in those challenges, as I would say, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste, because opportunities are always disguised as challenges. You would have to give yourself permission to embrace those defining moments. It could be as simple as conversation with a school teacher. It could be, it could be conversation with a mentor. For some people, it could be this program. Someone have an effect that is so profound, and you can see the continuum to your very present life. Those defining moments are the greatest asset that we can ever have. We think sometimes, if not all the time, that is God's gift to us. And you being able to go back there, it's the greatest source of telling one story. Lastly, I want to share the story that is also in the book. A woman by the name of Robin Baker. She heard the same story, and her mother, she lost her mom to breast cancer as well. And on the dying bed of the mom, she made him make a promise to her that, she's going to do well with her life, and she's going to carry on the legacy of the family, and she's going to keep her loved ones, her younger ones. She created a not-for-profit called Go Therapy, helping women, helping people with therapy services. Right now, she operates in 3 countries. She has to relocate to the country of Ghana to serve. She's from South Carolina. And now she's doing amazingly well. Nobody would ever pray for someone to lose their loved ones, or to lose a job, or to get your dream job. Those are defining moments. What are you going to do with that? So if there's anything I want to leave with this audience, and I'm not saying we're ending now, is everyone should go back and sit down and audit and document those events in your life that had a most profound effect on you. And what do you want to do with that? That is how you tell a powerful story.
I love that. I love that. Tell us about your own story.
Oh, okay. Well, my story related to this particular conversation, me getting into the world of identity and identity coaching, happened when I just left the university. And like everyone else, I was kind of seeking a career path. If I should go nonprofit, if I should go for-profit, struggle like every one of us should have. So the idea of just doing 501c3 work, depending on someone to fund my vision, my passion, and being so much regulated and so much restricted, it didn't quite resonate. Now, the whole idea in itself of just pursuing money and just being exclusively financially driven, that in itself doesn't resonate with me either. So I was at this crossroads. Looking back, I would say, I was at a professional identity crisis. Should I go for profit and should I go nonprofit? In that particular state of introspection or yearning for clarity, I found a mentor. So I told her my journey and my career path and what I've done with my life. And she said these words that was life-changing. That was my own defining moment. She said, if you want to help people and you want to make money and you want to be enterprising, you are a social entrepreneur. I've never heard the word social entrepreneur, Bernice, at that particular time. So if you don't know where you're going, how can you even get there? So she did help me with articulation, and she helped crystallize what my professional identity was. Immediately 6 months after that conversation, and keep in mind, I was overseas at this point in Nigeria. Microsoft Corporation, they have a CSR arm, which is Microsoft Unlimited Potential, just started investing in social entrepreneurship. And there was this global business plan competition. Guess what? Because my coach already told me that I am a social entrepreneur, I gave myself that opportunity. I won this global business plan competition. Shortly after, they came to the United States with the State Department, created a few social enterprises, and now I've committed my life to helping people crystallize their own professional identity. Now, these are the lessons that I learned, life lessons from that exercise or from that transition, that my professional identity precedes my professional competence. I also realized I am not what I do. What I do is an expression of who I am. So think about it. Like, I didn't even know anything is called social entrepreneurship, but because someone came and gave helped me crystallize that, I gave myself permission, and that really altered my career trajectory to now. So that is my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Stick to it. So the book title is Borderless.
Awesome.
Borderless Voice. Can you tell us about some of the stories in there? Did you hear me, Gbenga?
No.
I was like, can you tell us about some of the stories in the Borderless Voice, which is the title? If you guys just coming on, Gbenga has a new book and it's titled Borderless Voice.
There's several stories in the book. Again, I want to premise that question saying that, again, these are stories of ordinary people who, by giving themselves permission, became extraordinary catalysts of change in their communities. The everyday people, the people who you would know, people on this program, people like you and I, but they gave themselves permission. There's several of those. The one that I really like to tell, and I've told it a lot of time even before the book, is an amazing woman by the name of Sandra. She came from Boston to Washington, D.C., where I am. But our family comes from West Africa. It's a country called Cape Verde. Americans would say Cape Verde, which is an amazing, beautiful country. And they came to the United States in 1800. And when they came to the United States, their professional identity, their trade was sewing, and they had to survive. That was the identity that they have. And in that particular time, I would even say till now, there is sometimes this culture of shame that some immigrants carry. So because of that, she did everything possible to distance herself from anything called fashion or lifestyle. So she intentionally took the opposite direction. She went to school. She studied psychology. She became successful. She was working with a city in Boston. She was a case officer, helping people in social service and access government resources. But again, this thing called purpose and passion and destiny, when it comes, it comes. So again, she became restless. And, she's a strong woman of faith. She left the job. She moved to D.C. She said she was led to come to D.C. The very first week she came to D.C., our path crossed. And she hired me as a coach, and she told me where she was. It was a big leap of faith and the little savings that she had. And in our very first session, I told her to tell me her story. And I realized that she didn't want to go to a family ancestry and heritage. And she gave me permission, and I started asking for her to tell me more. And it was a visceral reaction. It was an emotional. She couldn't continue with that session. And then she stopped that session. And a couple of days after, she texted me a text message, and it read, "The fashion psychologist." And she said she has decided to marry our passion and our family identity with our purpose. And, we created this mission statement, which is the fashion psychologist helping women combine the power of their mind and their wardrobe to actualize the outcomes they are seeking out of life. She also has holistic fashionistas as a signature programs. She does events across the country. During a lunch event, I remember this woman who called a senior citizen, the woman walked up to her and said, "Sandra, thank you for your leadership. This is the struggle every woman have, but thank you for showing up and leading us so powerfully." And, and then she went from someone who was searching for a sense of direction And she accelerated her journey to become a thought leader because she pretty much owned the fashion psychology niche. And I make this joke. I go to conferences around the world and I speak, and people tell me, Gbenga, your story with Microsoft is amazing, but can you please connect me to that fashion psychology woman? Yeah, that's one of the stories in the book.
That's awesome. She's powerful.
Yeah.
So here we have the Borderless Boys. Another quote in the book is, "You are not a product of your environment, but of your design, vision, and voice." Can you expound on that?
Yeah. So, oftentimes, you hear the saying, I'm just a product of my environment. And, and people say that all the time, that I'm just a product environment. So that's not the paradigms that the book challenged. That not really, that you are not, your environment, however, has some very powerful attributes because it is the geographical location that helps shape your story. It gave you this unique perspective and outlook in the world, the way you see the world, the paradigm and the lens in which you see the world, that is powerful. However, it should not be confined to that particular environment. And so the core of the book is this: the moment you give yourself permission to tell your story and define your identity, you become transcendent. And then you overcome barriers, whether those barriers be cultural, be environmental, whether those barriers sometimes could even be spiritual, like Sandra, that has to do with identity. Once you give yourself permission, you cannot be restricted or confined by your environment anymore. So in my coaching practice, we do this identity 360 exercise. And we look at identity from personal, professional, spiritual, entrepreneurial, international, community. And in the international component, I would ask people to define, how would you define yourself outside of your own country? Think about that, Bernice. So how would you define yourself outside of your own country? So it's so amazing that I would hear all manner of people talk about how they think about their national or international identity. And so I chatted that some people will use words like I'm an immigrant. Some people will use words like I'm a minority. Some people will use words like disadvantaged or vulnerable. So we pretty much banned all those words. We're not allowed to use those words in my community. So what happened in this particular exercise, 2 weeks after that, a woman in the UK published an amazing article that said that how come white people are experts when they go overseas and the rest of us immigrant? And I thought that was so on point. Like, think about it. And this particularly connects to those who go overseas. Think about it. Someone that has the same skill sets that you have, the same background that you have, but you would rather define yourself otherwise and not give yourself permission. So at the end of the day, it's how you see yourself. My personal brand, Bernice, is how you see me. My identity is how you see myself. And if I am,
somebody type that. That's good. And I hope that quote is in the book.
All in the book, Bernice. So think about this, Bernice. So if I am the governing authority over my spiritual identity, over my gender identity, over my personal identity, when it comes to our purpose, when it comes to the very core mission, we are positioned in this earth to be the light. How come we look to external validation for us to be ourselves? Why can we just say, this is who I am, and just do it? Whatever resonates with you, again, you don't need anyone's permission. Your identity is your own perception of yourself. So when it comes to Borderless Voice, the core premise is this: the greatest border we all have to overcome is our self-perception. And once we do that, we become borderless.
Love that. Amen. So the great message. Do you have any parting words you'd like to leave with our audience?
Do we have any questions from the audience? And
yeah, questions. Anybody got any questions or comments? Right? Just any comments. So far we had Matthews. He said, I love this. Rosalind
oh, great.
says,
Thank
hello.
you. Oh, great. We're seeing
hello.
A lot of people.
Identity is your own perception of yourself. Someone was listening.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Oh, great.
And we had Amen, Elijah. Any questions? Anybody had any questions? This is great, Gbenga.
Oh, great. Yeah, so I would love to continue this conversation with this community while we wait for the question. And I am hosting a storytelling workshop on a webinar like this on the 25th. And then I hope your community can join us to be a part of the program. And it's actually a gift. It's a gift that I am giving. I'm gifting to the community, and I will happy to extend the gift to this community as well.
Yes.
Someone said, how does one know when the identity get past the stage of being stuck? Great, Felicia, for the question. Well, when it comes to, by the way, Bernice, can I go ahead and answer the question?
Please do.
Okay, great. Well, when it comes to getting unstuck, so this is what I often say. I'm going to premise my answer by saying this, that multi-talented people, Felicia, if you think about it, are the most conflicted. Why so? Warehouses of opportunities. They have a ton of options. And I think this is what most of us can relate with. The more talented you are, the more opportunities you have, the greater the burden of decision making. Think about that. So, and that can put someone in the state of being stuck. How do you get unstuck with that? So my solution is this. The problem is not finding the right opportunity. The solution rather is finding the core. The core is the point of commonality to all the opportunities that you have. Again, think about this, Felicia. You are not what you do. Whether you are a fashion designer, a motivational speaker, an investor, an entrepreneur, whether you are a woman of faith, whether you are a woman of public service, those are only outlets for your core, for who you truly are. And the way to get that, once you found that, is your points of commonality to all those opportunities. So this is my action item for everyone on the call. Think about this. If I were to take you from your current location and relocate you to a country you do not speak their language, you don't know anyone, that is a brand new country. What about if for some reason you are not going to continue with your 9-to-5? If you think because you have a business you're excluded, excuse me, sir, no. For some reasons, if it happened that the business, the light cannot keep itself on, think about it. What is one skill you have that you can survive on? And don't think about anything high-tech. Don't think about anything advanced. Don't think about anything, just think very simple. Very basic. That is why I call it survival skills. Once you get to the core of your survival skill, whether it's communication, whether it's organizing, whether it's passion in entertainment, whether it is motivating, whether it is number skills, whatever those skills are, that becomes your core. And when you are struggling with getting unstuck, I really need you to find your way back to your core. and let that be the outlet for your personal brand. So think about the stories I've been sharing to like Sandra, so at the core of that woman she is a lifestyle person. When she came back to her core, she was able to activate this tribe, and she has a global community right now. Find your core and you get unstuck. And that is when you go back to your true identity, professionally speaking. I hope that was helpful, Felicia.
So what you see here is, I got a picture of your book here.
Oh, great. Oh, great. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. So this is how to get into this class. Again, it's a gift that I'm giving for the book just launched. It's my thank you for everyone who was able to get a copy of this book. It's on Amazon. And once you get the book, I need you to please email your receipt. You can forward that to Borderless book, Borderless voice book at gmail.com. If you can help me with that, Bernice, that would be awesome. Borderless voice book at gmail.com. You can get the book and forward your copy of your receipt. I'm doing a full consultation, a full coaching session as part of our storytelling intensive. And it's the very same training that inspired several of the stories in the book. That would be my gift to you.
Awesome. You said Borderless book at gmail.com?
Borderless voice book.
Okay, voice.
Yeah, Borderless voice book at gmail.com. And that, I think the quarter line for that, July 20th. If you can please email that by July 20th, you would get the code. The class in itself is $125. That is the cost of the class. It is not a recorded session. It's a live session. I'm going to help to talk about your story and how to tell this all new powerful stories that you've always wanted to tell. It's my passion, it's my joy to serve and to give that. Please send me an email with that. If you can forward the receipt of the book, you would immediately receive the code to join the class.
Sounds good. I think is correct now. I noticed yours says BORDR, less voice book at gmail.com. Is that correct? I got it on the screen here.
Let me see. I'm not seeing but yeah, I think that should be correct. Borderless. Okay.
And I also will put the link once we are ending.
Oh, great.
Once we have ended, I'm also going to put the link on there as well.
Oh, great as well. Oh, great. Thank you very much, Felicia. I'm finally getting back if you sent it a while ago, and so back to the question, Brian, is like my parting word to this community is really this idea. Think about this. So I recently went through this exercise of writing this book. And if you haven't written a book, you will understand that this is really, really personal exercise, and it's a lot of stretch, both mentally and spiritually as well. What this did for me, it elevated my appreciation of one story. I think that, and I came to the conclusion, Bernice, that the greatest gift anyone can ever give to you is to give you appreciation of who you are, of your story. So think about my story.
I like that.
I was in a state of crisis. I was in a state of identity crisis, professionally wise. And in one conversation, she said, "This is who you are." And my life permanently changed. And I think my parting words to everyone is this: I need you all to really go back again to those defining moments, those events that happen you don't want to talk about, you don't even want to think about it. You would have to go and embrace those moments. It doesn't have to be negative. Some are very, very positive. And so what happened, if you read this book, my story starts in chapter 1 in the city of Atlanta. that particular defining moment happened about 4 years ago, Bernice. And I wrote it down and I just saved it in my computer box and I didn't go back to it. And, back to Felicia's question, and it turns out at a particular, my work, I was stuck at a particular point and I went through this period of meditation and introspection. And I believe God told me to go back to that story and tell that story. And once I went back, all these opportunities happened. I need you all to do the same. Go back to those defining moments. That is the greatest gift that you can ever receive. And you already have those gifts. You just have to receive and embrace it and show up with that story, and you will see how you will transform your identity. Those will be my parting words. I hope that resonates with the audience.
Love it. Any other questions? I think you did excellent. I appreciate it. This is part 2. If you guys hadn't seen the live number 1 that we did, that was awesome as well. We talked about the identity and branding and strategy, and that's excellent as well. So I'll be sharing this in this video thread too, so you guys can take a good look at part 1 too. So now we get part 2 where he's actually sharing the book. I'm super excited about that. So how can our audience reach you other than the email? Thank you. You are welcome. I appreciate the support.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So my website is Gbenga, and if you can't spell my name out, it starts with a G, and it sounds the pronunciation starts with a B, but writing it starts with a G. Gbenga.org. That is Gbenga. Gbenga.org. That's my website, and then my social media links are available on that as well. Also, as part of the gift to this community is if you go on YouTube and you would type the word Borderless Voice Book, you can actually listen to the audiobook on YouTube, all for free. The first chapter of the book, you can listen to that. The introduction chapter, rather. If you just go to YouTube and type Borderless Voice Book, you'll be able to listen to that. And to connect on social media, you just go through my website, Gbenga.org. I'll be happy to connect. And you can join our newsletter as well. I do travel across the country hosting our Tell Your Story workshops. So I can also connect with your audience and the various parts of the country they are joining us from.
That will be great. Hope to see you in Atlanta soon.
Yes.
We got to connect and do something in the Atlanta area.
Absolutely. I'll be glad to do that.
All right, guys. So that is a wrap. Thank you so much, Gbenga, for coming on. It's been amazing, guys. You would see. Let me put that on again. It is Gbenga. There it is. It's right there. It is Gbenga.org. Connect with him there. And there, I'm on the website now. You can connect with him on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. So go on there and make sure you guys connect with him there. Thank you. Thank you again. Guys, it was awesome. So guys, I want to make sure that you connect next Thursday. And this is next Thursday. Every Thursday we're on at 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. So connect, and drop down some topics that you guys want to hear us talk about, or discuss, whatever you call it. So make sure you do that, because it's every Thursday, 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. And I will see you guys then. All right. Peace and God bless.